Mikey and his magic middies. Will they get you over the line this season? Will Jake have Tedesco this week? Maxie, the consistent keeper. Ryan Hadley, Australia's next test fast bowler. Timmy, the 2020 SuperCoach champion. And Savs, the Newcastle. Tommy Turbo tragic.
Are you ready for some football?
We're ready for some football, baby.
All right. Here we go.
You're now listening to the SuperCoach Experience podcast.
Hello. Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. We're up to the center wings today, and yes, I'm back after a 2-week stint on the sidelines. I'm in, Sabs is off today, so I'll be taking the reins with my trusty co-host, Jake, coach of Kiss My Behinds, if I'm correct.
Yes, mate, you've nailed it every couple of times. Don't worry about it. Yeah, say it with confidence. But Sav's on the bye this week. I think he's just prepping himself for fullbacks next, where there'll be one player in particular where he can get all his juices flowing. So that'll be quite an interesting podcast, that one.
Yeah, well, I really don't know how his team's shaping, but I've been watching kind of him commenting on certain posts, and I heard that he's starting with Kalen Ponga at this stage. So that makes me really interested if he's going to give us the power of not starting with Tedesco, purely because, we might have to adjust the start of that intro if he doesn't start with him and he starts on fire. So, hey, this could be a bit of a comeback for you, Jake. Bit of payback.
We know one of them's going to be obviously Turbo, unless he doesn't go Turbo, which, again, makes the intro make no sense whatsoever, does it?
Yeah, there's no way he's not starting with Tommy Turbo, and if he is, I'd say he's probably got a bit of sense for once. But hey, he knows what he's doing. So let's get into it. Oh, before we get into it, the group code for the SuperCoach Experience, as usual, we'll run that again. 990684. That's a code. We plug it everywhere on the page, and that hit us up if you really can't find it. But basically, as the season gets closer, Sabs will 100% confirm, and we'll post what we are giving away. Normally it's a ring and a couple more different things. So we'll leave that up to Sabs. But yeah, jump in there. There'll be stuff to give away. And yeah, you can compare and see how your scores are going with us. Center wings today, Jake. So kind of before we get into that, how's your team shaping up? Have you been making lots of changes? If you have, what's your most recent change?
I think like everyone, we've kind of been staying away from making any changes until, I guess, before we even move on to that, I guess trials are starting this week, the pre-season challenges, they're calling it. And the teams have come out. You can find them on NRL.com. I know in our little title up there, it says trials. We're not really going to be making too much of trials because a lot of them are just reserve grade teams or players that are fighting for a couple of positions. So when next week we'll focus more on what we found out or what we can see from round one of the trials. And that's more of a thing I guess we can help with. At the moment, it's throwing darts because a lot of those players that you're looking at aren't even in the 30. So, but yeah, I guess back to my team, I haven't really made any changes. There's a few players I've looked at, but I haven't really made any changes to my team. What about yourself, Mikey?
Yeah, just altering the cheapies and just working out what guns I want. Like, it's chopped and changed. Like, Nat Butcher's been one that's just been in and out of my side, and I get him out to make room for someone else, and then I go, nah, if I'm not doing Crichton at this stage, I need him. I want him. And so a lot of that, my front row's been giving me a headache. I liked what Savs commented about Hess and all the news, and I got him in my side, but I've actually taken him back out to get Nat Butcher. So a few changes there, a few changes with my cheapies, and I've been back and forward between Dewey and Burton. I've been having a bit of a battle, so I won't reveal who's ahead, but just little things like that. And yeah, I've gone really cold on the hammer. So I've had the hammer in my team the whole time, and just because I haven't finding a way to upgrade him. So at this stage, I found a way to upgrade him. But yeah, look, it's all smokes and mirrors till we get these trials out of the way, until we get team lists. But I like to alter and see different possibilities, which a lot of people do. And there's a lot of good content coming out, a lot of good podcasts and stuff. So I guess that sways my train of thought as well. And then obviously just mail from the club. So yeah, as Jake said, Trials will kind of really go through after. There was a couple trials on the weekend. I'm hoping someone like Valence to, however you pronounce his last name. Tavare. Someone like him might have gone up the pecking order. It's still pretty early days. An example this week, the Penrith versus Parramatta trial. Like normally Penrith stacked their side up. They've gone complete second tier with a couple of guys making their appearance, but I don't think too many from that 1 to 17 side will be in there. There is a couple, I believe, like Taruva, obviously for the round 1 side, and Eisenhoof could jag a bench spot. But, it makes sense. They're saving themselves for probably the World Club Challenge. I'll put almost a full strength side into it for that one, I'm assuming. So we'll see how we go. So let's get into it. So the way we're going to break down the centre wing.
Before we go in, Savs is listening. Goes, the scenery in Mikey's room is looking mint. No zoo animals, which is the best part. Mikey, he's got a new recording studio.
Moved out. Yeah, got a granny flat now, so moved out into here. So this is my computer room. So a bit of a anime background, and I've slowly got some of the Penrith stuff coming up. So thanks, Savs. And no bird aviary. Centre wing. So we're going to kind of break it down. Like, I know not everyone does the structure we do, which is great, but I'm very heavily on making that centre wing as cheap and as profitable as possible to really stack up a big second row. Like at the moment, I've got two cheapies, but one that I believe is average. The rest I think are really good. Like I really poured money into ensuring I get some of like 4 or 5 good guns. So to do that, you've got to cut costs in your centre wing. Not everyone agrees with that strategy, but that's why we'll go through not only just the strategies, but I did want to spend a bit more time with the cheapies who we think are guns and bust, because as I mentioned the hammer a bit before, I think there are quite a few traps at this cheap price. Just because we don't have too many bottom dollar, you're going to have to snag a couple of these up. So I think it'd be good to focus a bit of time on that. So let's get on the way.
And I guess for this podcast as well, I'm like you said, stacking with a lot of cheapies. I've kind of gone a little bit different in terms of strategy, so it'll be good to kind of I think it'll be a good little podcast, this one. Two different thoughts on that.
Yeah, 100%, because I know a lot of people are loading up with someone like Valentine Holmes, which I don't mind, but if I load, he's going to be the first guy we're going to talk about, but just because I mentioned him, we're going to talk about him first. We're going to break up the order a bit. I think he's a gun. They've got a good early season draw. I can see the hype for getting him, but the reason why I don't want to do it is then if I was to do that, I'd have to sacrifice a Harry Grant or a Nico Hines. And my strategy, my priority is get your Nico Hines, your Harry Grant, Nathan Cleary, load up with 2 gun fullbacks, and then work the rest around that. And I don't see myself getting a well-balanced side. And I always go a stacked second row. I feel like you have to do that, or at least fit in some mid-ranges. So if I want to do that, there's no way I can start with someone as expensive as Holmes. So Valentine Holmes had a really good season last year. It really killed me not owning Holmes last year. So like at the same time, very nervous, like not to own him from the start. But am I not learning from my mistakes last year? Yeah, maybe not. But I'm doing that with Nico Hines. Didn't start with Nico Hines for the whole first half of the season, which sunk to me. Well, 2,000 ranking. Imagine what it could have been without it. So, like, he's just someone I can't go without. But anyways, that was the last podcast. Valentine's home, 724K, a Cowboys team that overachieved last season, in my opinion. I think they'll go pretty similar again this season. They really staked their claims. Young guys moved up. Holmes will still have a similar role. As we mentioned before, they've got a pretty nice early draw. He kicks goals. They start up with Canberra at home. They then go into the Broncos, the Warriors, the Titans, Bulldogs, Dolphins, back to the Warriors, Knights, and then they go Sharks, Roosters. But then after that, it's Dragons, Tigers. So realistically, almost the whole first half of the season, they have a very appealing draw. And the best part is they don't have a bye all the way to round 15. So they're available for the first bye round. Obviously, someone like Holmes won't be for Origin, but I don't own any Cowboys at the minute. I actually didn't properly have a good look at them and realize that they didn't have a bye to the first bye round. But you could, if Valentine's Holmes healthy, you get rounds 1 to 12 from him. That's massive, and actually kind of makes a bit more of a merit in spending that money on a centre wing, a premium centre wing like him. What's your thoughts on Holmes, Jake?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's in my team. I guess he started slow last year, but you can kind of put that down to them not having Drinkwater. They had the hammer at fullback, and they looked quite a bit lost. As soon as Drinkwater came in, Holmes they scored more points, and he was more involved in their attack. He offloads a lot as well, so that's SuperCoach friendly. And I think, I mean, he's at 20-something%, so he's quite heavily owned. A lot of people going that way. They see the good draw. They don't leave. I think they leave Queensland once in the first 6 rounds, and we saw what they did last year when they were pretty much played the whole season up in Queensland. So yeah, I can see the merit in going someone like Val Holmes, and I think in terms of all the premium options, I think he's probably the best one. Just in terms of, I guess, his goal kicking. You're going to get a lot of consistency in a team that we assume go similar to what they did last year, up and around that top 4. Mikey doesn't, but I think they'll be up and around there, and I think they'll probably put on a lot of points. So I guess other than Val Holmes, Mikey, is there any other premium options? I know you're not going any premium options, but is there any other options that you would consider?
It's funny now that we're talking about it, I'm like, shit, like, do I shred someone like Harry Grant for Holmes? Because this is where the headache starts, because the more we talk about it, and 20% owns pretty heavy. So if he does go on that an early roll, that's going to sting. But at the same time, I guess the strategy in not doing that is hoping, if you're getting a guy like Holmes, who are you missing out on? And if he doesn't start as well, those genuine options could really, really help. But yeah, look, I don't like Ruben Garrick as another at the price. He's not playing fullback yet, unless Tommy doesn't start the season. Joey Manu, could I pay $800K for Joey Manu? Well, he just had that's something we didn't really discuss. The Roosters have a couple of niggles that come out of that we found out about last week. Joey Manu's one of them. Most of them are going to be fit for round 1, but that's enough to kind of scare me off him. And that's $800K. If for some reason Tedesco was injured and he's starting at fullback, or he's even playing 5'8", then I would 100%. I'd spend $800K on Joey Manu if that was the case.
I agree. I think with Joey Manu, his price is slightly inflated based on playing several games at fullback last season, where he was scoring 196 or 150. I think any 5'8" as well. So I think price is slightly inflated. There's every possibility he goes out against Dolphins and Warriors and scores 150, but I'm not banking on doing that playing right centre. I mean, fingers crossed, and I don't think he's going to be very heavily owned either. We look at it now; he's currently in he's 12% owned, which is higher than I thought.
I do think it's a lot
of created teams,
beginners and all, not just beginners, but a lot of the people. Yeah, we'll just select him as a premium option because of his, class. But they have a buy in round 4. I wouldn't be too keen spending $800K or anywhere above $650K on a centre wing that's going to miss the first 5 rounds. You know what I mean? As you said, I'd rather spend $75K less on Valentine Holmes, who's not going to buy until round 15. So. Yeah, there's no you couldn't afford to do 2 of them. It'd be crazy if you did. It could work out, but you'd be pretty crazy. Look, Alex Johnston's a guy that I always love to own. I think that go Jake.
No, I was going to say you always pick him up sort of around the buy periods when his price has sort of hit a floor. It's like you've always gone for that.
I jump on it.
Time.
Yeah. Which I think is the key with a lot of these guys. I see a lot of these guys up the top, if they have a little bit of a slump or not enough tries as what they saw last year, they'll drop in price. And those first 5 there, you'd be happy owning any of them at some point in the season, especially when it gets towards the end. But so I'm a firm believer of buying guys with value, and then normally my trades in the first half of the season, it happened the past couple, I work around stacking up the center wing when I work it out, because the center wings fluctuate a lot, where I guess a bit more with the forwards. You kind of know how they perform. But with the center wings, there's a lot of contributing factors, and it's the attacking stats is the big one. So I'm not. Yeah, but yeah, there'll be a reason. I just got a funny feeling. Like I've liked the Bunnies team again. They normally start a bit slow, but I think the Bunnies are going to start pretty well this year. So I've been trying to alter my team around and make sure I have a Bunnies guy in there. Um, Taylor May, he's suspended. I'm pretty sure still.
Yeah.
He's going to miss that 1 or 2 games at the start. Taruva's going to fill in for him, so I wouldn't go there. What if he wasn't suspended, Jake? Do you like him as an option?
No, because that a lot less I can get Brian Toto, who I guess I know on different sides of the field, but I think with Kickout gone, maybe they balance their attack. You're a Panthers man. Do they more go to the right, or do they still continue to go left more predominantly, Mikey?
I don't think they're going to change too much. They've won 2 comps now. Teams have figured it. They're going to try to figure them out a bit more, but I still think they're going to use it. I think people are going to really highly not give as much credit to Garner, and I think Garner can still do a similar role, although there is every big chance that they develop a new strategy, and instead let's turn the right side into the dominant side. You've got Crichton, To'o. Crichton started to pass the ball a bit more. And then you've also got Liam Martin there, that right side, but I think Penrith are going to try and seesaw them both and use them both pretty effectively. But either way, 670, 600K is a lot for Taylor May. If Penrith keep being an attacking force and the halves stay fit, he could score enough tries to be a relevant pick. But for me, I like your call on Brian To'o, and the other one's Tago. I really don't think that. I still think he's going to be a viable option. I tip him as one of Panthers' top try scorers. I reckon he'll score above 10 tries, and he'll only get better. He had an awesome rookie season, and yeah, as I said, I think he's just going to get better. Could I fork 627K out for him? I'm not sure, but he's not even really. He's at 2%. Like, that's a lot of money to fork out on him. But Penrith do have the early round 3 bye. The draw isn't what you'd say super easy, but I definitely think he's going to stay a pod for a bit, and he'll be an option early on. Any love for Tago, Jake?
I mean, not really. I'd prefer a Brian To'o who comes with probably a higher floor and probably a higher ceiling as well. And I guess with Penrith having that round 3 bye, you're also going to be sitting Nathan Cleary that weekend. You don't really want to be sitting another premium option. So that's kind of why I kind of want to stay away from a premium option that has an earlier bye. Although I guess one guy who I am somewhat keen on is Joseph Sawali. And they have the bye, I think, round 4, Roosters. And the fact they'll have a lot of Roosters in my team kind of makes me sway I don't really want that many. You mentioned that Butcher before. He's the one I'm keen on. Also Sawali. You'll have Brandon Smith and Tedesco. So it's like too many players that you're going to have to sit or potentially trade out for that week. But I guess the thing I like about him is they play the Dolphins, the Warriors first 2 games, and a lot of people are saying it won't be a big score like you think. I mean, Roosters didn't even score a point last year in their first round against Newcastle, so there's every chance, and there's probably a good chance I don't run with him. But he's nearly at 20% ownership, which I thought was very high when I saw it.
He's young. He's only getting better. I think what we've seen, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, he's got so much room to move, and look what he did in that season. He's going to be someone you're definitely going to want to own, but these are cases where that number's like, I'd rather just cut, just save and bulk up other places. But the key thing is there is so many appealing options at the Roosters, even just in the center wing alone when you're talking about it. I don't think my strategy at the moment, like, this is all new, we're still learning it out, but I don't think you can have more than 3 plays from a side unless they have a later buy. If you're looking at a buy of around 9 or later, I could do it. Because when you get to these round 8, you're going to start, like, say you had 4 Storm players and the Storm aren't playing round 13. Can't remember if they don't. Then I wouldn't mind, you shred one of those Storm players to then prep for the bye, because you'll be prepping for the bye around round 9, round 10 most likely, even earlier for some, later for some. So, yeah, I can get around having 4 of them in the team. But a team like the Roosters, and if you're going to own 4 of the Roosters, they don't really have any cheapies at this stage. You're going to be spending a lot of your salary cap on them. So that's a big hit. The 4 you mentioned, Jake, if you had them and you're sitting them all out, like you said, on that round 4, like, I think that's just the key thing this year. It's about trying to have a good balance each week and try not to take a major hit when someone's on a bye because, yeah, even if you don't fall too much in the rankings, I think other people will be making too much ground to catch up on. So whoever can work that strategy out the quickest is probably going to be sitting near the top.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's going to be the thing. Like it's maximizing your points with the players that you have, and if you've got a player that plays, 2 out of 3 games over a player that plays all 3 versus the poor cheapie they're going to have to play that's scoring 20 points, I guess you're going to be weighing all that up through the season, and that's going to be ongoing. So it's exciting times. Any more, I guess, cheapies not cheapies, more premium options that you're keen on, Mikey? I'm keen on. Now we've heard a bit of rumours that Pappenhausen might not be right for a lot, maybe even till mid-season. So I'm Nick Meaney. Now
I knew
I had him at the end of last year, and he did well for me. He maybe raise a few ranks, but the issue was he was named a fullback, but he kept going in the halves, and they'd throw Munster at the back. Now we've heard Bellamy come out and say, "No, Munster's going to be 5'8", no matter what, and Meaney's going to be our fullback if Pappenhausen's no good." But he's probably the only other premium option that I would be interested in. A lot of money, I think, at fullback he can average 70 plus. So there's not really much, I guess, in money making terms, but it's banking those points. He will be goal kicking, so that's one that I'm tossing up on as my other premium option. I guess I've kind of got 1.5, 2, which is, I guess, a lot different to other people's strategies. I guess yourself, you've already mentioned that. Yeah, cheap is the way. But Nick Meaney, what do you think?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. So first year at the Storm last year, we knew he'd excel in that side. He did really well. He went from a 48 average in 2021 to a 61 point average. And as you said, like not all of them were at fullback. You'd be getting him for a good start till Pappenhausen's back, and Pappenhausen's going to be back, I think, later rather than, probably later than we think. So I don't hate it at all. It's a bit of a pod move, only owned at 3.4%, as we've seen there. So it could really work out. Like fullbacks at teams like the Storm and the Roosters, like they're just gold for SuperCoach. And as you said, that Mal with Cameron Munster saying in the halves, if that is true and it does stay that way and he doesn't do smokes and mirrors with us, he could be a nice pod. Like 640, like I could get around paying that. Yeah, I don't hate it, especially at fullback. It's all about trying to get guys that we can see have a bit upside and uptick value. But I guess the Storm's draw is not bad. Parramatta, Bulldogs, Titans, Tigers, Bunnies, like it's not horrible. And then they don't have a bye to round 9. So, it's 8 rounds there. Could do a job for you.
One to think about for me. So I guess we've gone through the premium options and ones that we can, I guess, consider. Like a lot of teams, there's only a couple that you're kind of going to throw out as options, and then the main, I guess, template is you're going cheap or mid-range options in centre wing. So, Mikey, we'll lead it off with you, mate. Who are the ones that you've, I guess, you mentioned earlier on, the ones that you've nailed on, or the ones you really want, the ones that you're kind of saying, oh, I reckon this guy's a trap. You mentioned Hammer before.
Yeah, so there's a big chunk of them. It's going to be a bit boring. Like I wouldn't say I don't currently have any pods. I do think if there are injuries in the trials and stuff happens, I think this is where we'll see the cheapies. But the mid-rangery ones, one that I actually slotted into my side a couple of days ago. I've been trying to find a way to go up to him. Well, first, let's talk about the Hammer. I got rid of Hammer to go up to this guy. So the Hammer, 330K. I think the big thing why he's an option now is he's got a fullback role, which, it's the position he likes to play. He's got it. He's playing under Wayne Bennett. He's going over to the Dolphins. He's got a little bit of competition for the spot if he does underperform. Could always, switch with Fantasinu or Isako if they're desperate. So he definitely does have a bit of competition to keep the spot. But as we've been told, it's his to lose. 330K. Played quite a few games off the bench for the Cowboys last year, hence the price drop. And when he come as a cheapie, we always knew this guy, like from the start, like not much base, but can score quite a few tries. How many tries are they going to score at the Dolphins? To be honest, I think a lot of people are doubting how well the Dolphins can perform. Like, I'm not saying anything they're going to be a top 8 side, but they're not going to be much as a pushover as other people think. And if Sean O'Sullivan fires and Jeremy Marshall-King fires, like, yeah, they might be able to score a little bit of points. I think Hammer's got quite a few attacking stats in him, but just the reason why I don't want to do it from the start is because I know he can dish out a 10 or a 20, and I want to see what his work rate is like at fullback. So he's someone that I'm more comfortable just to – I feel like with him and Chance are in similar boats. I only want to take the risk on one of them. And if I get it wrong, then, you've got that 3-round period to kind of, make your move and switch him around. So I'm happy to do that. What's your thoughts on the Hammer? Do you currently own him? And do you think anything different to what I said?
No, I'm on the same boat. He's been in very rarely in my side, and I think I was burned by him last year. I saved him last year, and disappointed, lost his spot. Like you said, he's very attack stat dependent. Doesn't have a lot of base. Doesn't take a lot of runs. So the fact that he's in a Dolphins team that I'm assuming is not going to go, too well. The fact that there's not going to be many tries, which means there's probably not enough points for him. I mean, he's definitely undervalued. He's going to make money, as much money as we think or we hope. I don't think so. What is he? He's priced at a 32 average. I think he can average 40, 45, probably at least. And I guess a few early tries in the first couple of rounds, would pop his price up very fast and a low break even. Like you said, if Chance is not going well, you can easily make the swap and bank cash in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really not on the Dolphins. Not on any of their backs, unless a cheapie comes along. And like Hammer is not a terrible pick. Like he's going to probably make money. But yeah, for me, like you, Mikey, I'd rather just sit and wait and see him and how the Dolphins go for the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, nailed it. I think that's the key thing there. Don't get me wrong. Like, if it comes around to things, I need to shed a bit of cash and go down, I could consider him again, but I'm going to try do everything I can not to start with him. Just also, too, he's the highest owned center wing at this current moment. He's 39.5%. So I think he's the perfect guy to antipod. I think a lot of people might get trapped playing a bit early. They're playing the Roosters. Surely not many people do that unless you're running a really light center wing. So, yeah, I just can't get around. You
can kind of put the Hammer and I guess Chance in the same bracket. They're both at like 39, 40%. They're very heavily owned. And I guess onto that, you have Chance. Is that what you're saying? You have Nickel Plus?
No, so he wasn't the player that I went down to. I went up to one. But yeah, while Chance is in a similar category, like I really don't know how he's going to go, but he's going over to a new side. He didn't play, fullback every game last year. It's kind of why his price went down. He's underpriced. I like that he's obviously got the fullback center wing duel there. I think the Warriors' team and play style will suit him. So I'd much rather take a risk on someone like Chance, who I think might have a little bit better of a base. And you never know. I think someone like Tamari Martin's play style could really suit Chance and Sean Johnson. I think their 1-6-7-9 could actually, every now and then, put on some points. Like I don't think Warriors are going to go too well either. They have recruited better than what most people think. But yeah, look, at that price, I can't say no. Like, I love a mid-ranger, and he's a pretty, he's basically in the middle of that cheapy mid-ranger category. The guy that I've gone up to, Hayes Perham. Now, 22% owned, nowhere near a pod, nothing like that. This Bulldogs team, like, I think they're a team that, against certain opponents, can score some points. So I've got a little bit of Bulldogs. I'm kind of keen to have him. At this stage, if I need to shed money, I'll shed it off him. But having a look on the NRL app, I was looking at his stats. Someone else brought it to my attention too when he played at fullback in New South Wales Cup. Not his SuperCoach stats. Obviously, they don't do SuperCoach for that. But just his runs, his running meters, his tackle busts, his line breaks. Like, he's just real heavily involved at fullback. Fullback is his He normally plays fullback and half, I think, in the juniors. So those stats that I mentioned were at fullback. Last year, he was on the wing for the Eels. So he was just scoring tries on the back of a good, back line and good half pairing there. So fullback, Serrato, I like Serrato as coach. And if he's giving this guy the first crack at it over someone like Avarillo, who's really done well there, I kind of want to, take that risk and back him. And 370K, he's another one. If it doesn't work out, I could go down to the hammer. There's a few options around that price point, but yeah, I'm pretty keen on him. He's another fullback. A lot of people are doing the fullback strategy. Yeah, it might burn you. At this stage, I've got 3 out of 7 are fullbacks. The other reason why I didn't want to have the hammer, I don't want to have 4, but yeah, I think he can make some money and be that good mid-ranger that, if he gets heavily involved with someone like Burden, someone like Kickow, that's the best part about someone like Kickow. There's going to be a bit of line breaks, line busts, and someone like Perham shooting down the middle. I see some meat pies for him. Jake, do you own him, and are you keen on him?
No, but I guess like 22% of the people, I am kind of looking at him. I'm hoping to get a bit more of a feel of how the Dogs play and set up and how their fullbacks used. It looks like it's going to be their second trial. Hopefully we get a bit more of an idea there. If, like you said, he's going to be heavily involved in sort of their attack, then yeah, I don't mind him, because like he's going to have a Birdo there. He's going to have a kick out. He's got a lot of weapons that he can run off. But yeah, at the moment, he's probably one that, you said like the hammer that I'm hoping just to watch. I don't think he's going to really burn you not having him. I don't see him, scoring tons every single week for the first couple. But yeah, for me, he's definitely a watch, and hopefully in the second trial we get more of a thing, because I'm pretty sure he's playing in the Maoris team, or was named for him. There's been quite a few withdrawals from that game, but yeah, he's definitely watching. Hopefully we get a bit more of a thing on it. But you mentioned about the New South Wales Cup. Like, I was always under the assumption, because he's kind of played wing for Parramatta, there's not really much stats to show what he can do at fullback. So I guess getting that stuff from New South Wales Cup is pretty valuable in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. They've got their 5-round draw is not too bad. Start with Manly. They got Melbourne and Cowboys in there, but they also got the Tigers and Warriors. So the other thing that I like with the Bulldogs is they don't have a bye until round 13. So that's also pretty handy. So that's, you can get 12 rounds out of him. But someone like him, like Rilo, had quite a few try involvements towards the back end of last year in the fullback. So if they play a similar style, and look, I'm a big fan of Serrato. I reckon the way he's going to run these trips around, it's not going to happen instantly, but no matter how the Bulldogs do in NRL this year, I think they'll be an improved side, and I think there's going to be lots of SuperCoach options from them. It's just, are you game enough to take the risk with some of them now, or are you going to wait and see? We always say wait and see, but you can't wait and see on all these players. You've got to take some risks where you can, and at 370K, this is a risk I'm willing to do. He's playing fullback. If he was on the wing or in center, I probably wouldn't go there, but he's playing fullback. He does have some competition if he goes bad. So that's
I was just about to mention that. I guess he does have competition. He's taking over from the fullback who's still in the side from last year. And I guess if the Bulldogs struggle in the first 2 games, there's every chance he's back on the wheel, back in the centres, and Avrilo's back there. So I guess it's going to be how good the Bulldogs can go in the first couple games. Like Serrato, I'll give him a chance. So it's probably going to be more than 2 games. But if he's really having an absolute howler and Dogs are struggling, there's every chance that he could be axed. Yeah. And I mean, that's the case for pretty much all these mid-range centre wing fullbacks that are most heavily owned. If their team's struggling, because they are in teams that were in the bottom 8 last year, so there's every chance that they could be finding something better. There's every chance that they might not be playing where we've picked them in a couple of rounds' time.
I think it's important to note how many trades we have this year. I think we've got more than enough. So I think on price points like this and positions like this, I'm more than happy to take some risks. And if I burn some trades fixing up the center wing, a little bit and jump into the other ones that are better options, I think I'm happy to do that early. You got the boost, you got all that kind of stuff. So kind of makes it warrants taking risks in certain places, I guess. Sorry, Jake, were you going to say something else before?
No. I was just kind of going to go with what you were about to say. But any other? What other centre wings? I know there's plenty, Mikey.
There's heaps. Like I'm just going through it all now. But another one, we did have a question regarding it. If I can find it. Tony Garrett. So Tommy Talau from the Tigers getting me interested. I currently don't own him, but he's going to be very tempting. Yet again, like I know we say this, but we believe the Tigers are going to be improved with the signings that they have made. If this is the case, then a 300k is a really tempting option for me. I'm trying not to start with too many Tigers, and there are quite a few Tigers. Like there's Dewey. I'm kind of keen on Tuikamanu, Matamu if he gets it. So I'm trying not to have too many of them. So that's currently why I don't have Tommy Talau at this stage. But trial form, I want to see kind of like you mentioned before with the Bulldogs. I want to see how the Tigers play early. And then I'll jump on someone like Tommy Talau. So 300k, very cheap. Previous years, he's been priced at more than that. The key with these price points is getting guys undervalued and getting them to make some money. The Tigers, what is the Tigers starting draw? So I don't think it's too bad, actually. Yeah, so Titans, Knights, Bulldogs, Storm, Broncos, Eels, and then they got the round 7 bye. So not horrible. Get a good indication in 6 weeks. If he starts fast, might be a good enough time to punt him for the bye, maybe, depending on how he goes. He'd be the kind of guy where you'd want to make quick cash and piss him off.
Yeah, I guess he's someone that could, in those games, Tommy Talau, he could easily, crash over for a couple of tries. He looks like he's going to be getting a centre spot. Him and Brent Aiden look like the centres. I think come off was an ACL last year, so he's back off a pretty bad injury. But he looks raring to go. I'm pretty sure he's playing in this trial this weekend just to get a bit of game fitness under his belt. So but he's one I am keen on. Tommy Talau, he's shown that he's all right. He was a cheapie a couple of years ago, and now he's almost a cheapie this year. He's only got 100k and over bottom dollar. So Tommy Talau, you can throw him in the bucket of players to watch in the trials. And like you said, if he's one that can start with, if he can make some money quick, we can sell him before that buy that they have, and hopefully that's a perfect time to get rid of him.
Yeah, like the point you made before, but the Tigers have a lot of depth in the centre wings. They've got a lot of competition for spots, so that could be a worry with them. There's so many different things. Like, I believe he's going to get a starting spot, but the new coach there is going to chop and change. Till he kind of gets a formation potentially in that centre wing. So that's a little bit of a thing to worry about. But 11.9% ownership. That's not bad for someone of his price point. Depending if some people don't get named, that could change. Next one, I do own. He's only at 16% ownership. I really like him. I can't believe he's not at 30%. I'm seeing a lot of season players not having him, and I'm just like, why are people missing it out? Remus Smith plays for the Melbourne Storm 2 seasons ago. He was enormous. Made some big money, went on a bit of a streak. He's got a bit more, meters in the legs now. He's a bit more of a, bit older now. And he's just in a Storm side that's, I still believe are going to dominate, even though they're missing so many players. They've still got some of their key blokes there. I believe Harry Grant's going to go to a new level. And for 316k, there's no way I couldn't own him. Jake?
Yeah, I've had him. I've taken him out for other players. But I guess the reason why he's not so on, he's not a flashy player. He's not a player that's going to score like massive scores in ceilings. You kind of don't really get that from the Storm centers. He's a player that, like you mentioned, I think 2 or 3 years ago, we averaged 52-ish or something like that. And he's currently priced at like 30 or 29 or something. So
price at a 30 average.
Yeah. So I see there's 20 points worth of price gaining to be made there If you can get off a hot start, then that's quick money generation. And like you said, Melbourne Storm, they score points for fun. I guess the fact that they kind of target their wingers, also Xavier Coates, then I guess the rest of them. But you're going to fall into points regardless. So, yeah, he's definitely a pickup. And, I mean, 16%, he's kind of, as opposed to all the other centre wing fullbacks who are 40%.
He averaged 69 minutes last year too. So the fact that he averaged 69 minutes with that drop off, so if he goes back to normally where he's at, which is 80, and if he stays in an 80-minute centre winger, that's 11 minutes you've got there for him, and the reason why he's underpriced. So a lot of these are guys that you're going to offload once you find the right players, but it's all about making money. That's what I believe. Like centre wing, all they need to try to jag their points up. Average 21 less. If you can get anywhere back to 2021, where he actually did have a bit of a high ceiling, Jake. His high score was 120. And when he started to find his groove, there was a couple of high scores in there. So to me, he does have a bit of low base, but his high price point in 2021 was 548K. If you add in this salary cap, that's a lot more. So we have seen in the past glimpses of what he can do. And yeah, a bit of a different Storm team back then, but it's still a good Storm team. So, yeah, he's been in my team from the start, and he's one player that he will not be leaving my side unless he gets injured or doesn't start for some reason. But, yeah, very, very keen on him. All right, another one. One that I was really keen on owning, but there's one big reason why I don't own him, and maybe why he's only 13.5%, is Mr. Isaac Thompson. So all but confirmed to probably start on that wing spot for the Rabbitohs, but the key part is Tane Milne won't be playing the first game. So I guess the big question mark with him, is he going to stay there when Tane Milne comes back? I believe there's a good chance he does, but it's a big risk to start with a 330. He's not bottom dollar. He's 336K. I think we'll see enough of Isaac Thompson this year. But is this a case of, hey, let's just wait and see, pick him up on his third game if he's going to hold the spot? He could come out those first two games, blow the teams out of the water. Like, he's just someone that's going to score some tries. But we're talking about how much I love Alex Johnson. They do love that side. How many meat pies are going to go his side? But, we got a 2-game sample size last year, and he was amazing in both those days. Hence the 336. What do you think on Isaac?
Yeah, we saw with the work rate. He's such a good work rate. It's like a Brian To'o sort of work rate, plenty of tackle busts, plenty of runs. I know that they go left primarily because Cody Walker's there, but we saw last year, if you've got Latrell in the side, he can park himself on that right side, and he just throws a cutout pass, and he just put the ball down. I mean, Tane Milne could even do that last year and scored plenty of tries. But like you said, the big one is if Isaac Thompson doesn't have the best game, in round one, there's every chance that Tane comes straight back into that side. So I guess the benefit of all these guys being, from 300K to 340K, if you get one wrong or there's one that is right, it's one trade away from swapping one to the other. And if you're worried about Isaac Thompson, then go a different player, go a Hammer, go a C&K, go Remus Smith, one of these other guys. Then it's an easy swap to Isaac Thompson. If he does keep that round 2 spot, he does look good. I guess the one thing is South have a pretty tough start to the draw. Not that it matters. They're a team that can score a lot of points against anyone. But yeah, if you're more risk averse, then go someone else, and then you can easily go to him in round 2 if he keeps his spot and looks good.
Yeah, I guess that draw as well. Like the Bunnies can still score points against all those top sides, but I think there's too much risk to start with him when there's so many other options. But yeah, can I see myself doing the risk? If I needed to shed 40K and get like maybe, but yeah, if someone like Milne went down injured, then I might consider it more. Like if he was going to be out longer, he's going to be 5-6 weeks, then I'd be a bit more tempted just because the Bunnies are such a class side. And I think anyone around that price point on those side playing in the centre wing there's money to be made at some point. So, as I said, I think we'll see enough of him to be an option at some point. Okay, next one, and then I guess we'll run off a couple more, and then what we'll do is we'll cross to a couple of questions that we've got.
Yeah, we've only got a couple more middies. I'll
Maybe
bring one up
one
to you,
more.
Mike.
I'll go one.
Before,
Yeah, we'll just
I want to bring it to you because I don't really know.
Unless
He's
it's
very
not.
highly owned. Tyrell Sloan doesn't play.
That's exactly who I was going to talk about.
I know you're going to bring it up. So I'm going to throw a question at you so you can speak first because I want to hear your opinions on it. He's quite heavily owned. He's nearly 14% or something.
15.6 to be exact.
Doesn't play round one. I mean, it looks like he's locked into the fullback spot. You're a massive fan of him. Was it last year?
Yeah, I started with him last year.
Yes.
Started him last year as my high-profile centre wing, and I am one of the 15.6% owners. Now, maybe in only last week I've jumped on him. Price point, fullback. The news about the last what's his name? Ramsey. The news about Ramsey. I didn't have him in my team at some because it was whispers that he wasn't going to be fit for round one, but he is. The risk, I said to myself, I wouldn't start with any Dragons. He's the only one I currently have just because we don't get to see their team at TLT. We're trusting all the Mayo and everything else. I actually haven't seen the lineup this week. Are they playing guys like him this week? They're versing St. Helens this week at the Battle of the Saints.
Sloan's in the Indigenous All-Stars game. So he's
perfect, because we'll see how he performs. And I guess he performed really well in that last year, and that's what got me really keen on him, especially in the Charity Shield too, which I guess we'll get a bit more of an indication in the Charity Shield. But 298K, he was priced at like 445. The Dragons, I predict them in my bottom three, but yet again, centre wing, like I'm looking for value. I'm looking to make a bit of money, and I think after having a bit of a lean year and Hook's giving him another chance, I think it's either he's going to leave the Dragons after his contract's up, or he's going to try and make this fullback spot his own. So I just think he's got a lot to prove there. And at 298K, I can't say no to that. I believe he'll be their fullback. And, he gets his buy over and done with. But, hey, if my VC goes crazy, there's my loop option. I don't have to bring in anyone I don't want. There's a loop option. That's what I love about the buys this year. Yeah. It's going to make it more fun to loop. You don't have to carry an AE. You've got your loop players. And then when he comes back from the bye, he plays the Titans, the Broncos, the Sharks, the Bunnies, the Titans again, and then the Raiders. So it's a bit mixed there. There's a few sides there where, basically round two, I'll bring him straight back in and I'll play him. There's a lot of lineups there where I'll play him, and he's got such a SuperCoach friendly game when he is playing the way he wants to play, in a sense. Like, we didn't see that from him as much last year, but we saw it from the year before. Like, he just didn't get enough opportunity, and Cody Ramsey was doing such a good job there. But yeah, I just think this could be this is a make or break year for him at the Dragons. So 298K, yeah, he's been comfortably in my side for over a week now, and unless I get a plethora of cheapy options, if we get heaps more that come up, then I could see myself dropping him to a bottom dollar, banking the 98K and just watching him. Someone like him is not going to go up in price to round 4. So if you've got a player that's playing 1, 2, 3, their price is going to go up to round 4. So you've got a bit more expiration. But we've said that you can wait and see on a lot of these. You've got to take a risk with some of these guys, because the whole point of getting an early start and getting ahead in the rankings early is, while other players are getting these cheapies and guys that they missed, you're getting pods and other players that people can't. So you've got to try and nail as many of these ones as you can at the start. I guess you're just not going to see how this guy does till round 2. Have I kind of swayed you a bit, Jake, on him? Or? Well,
yeah, I mean, there's definitely upside in him. We saw, not last year, but the year before, how he finished the year. It was so good. He was, I think he averaged 65 or something. At the end of that last year, he scored a lot of tries. I guess last year he only had played 3 games at fullback. He started against the Warriors, he got 78. Then he versed Penrith and Cronulla, who were 2 top teams, and only got 26. So, and then he was dumped from the fullback position. Ramsey was the new fullback, and who did a good job. But I think the fact that he's this is make or break. Like, this could potentially be his career if he, mucks this chance up. Then it's career, and if you make something of it, then even if it's not for the Dragons, there's other teams that he can potentially go and play for. So I'm pretty sure he's in my team on a bench spot, and like you said, I do like him as every single week. As long as you have a buy player, there's the VC loop option, which I know us playing BBL, it was quite easy to do. So
Yeah.
but
I love him as a player. I love watching him play.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably my favorite Dragons player. And the best part, I guess, about taking someone with a first round bye is that's their bye over and done with for now. And then the Dragons actually play the first bye round against the Dolphins, and then they don't have another bye till round 16. So if he does perform well, you start with him. You don't burn a trade if he does do well. That's someone you're going to hold and probably try and hold to that buy round, getting him in a 300K price point. I guess then the thing why you might not start with Sloan is a first round buy, and you don't think the Dragons are going to go too well. But I don't mind grabbing players from teams I don't think are going to go too well if they're cheap. And he's cheap. I paid 440 for him last year. Happy to pay 300K for him this year. So, I guess that Indigenous and All Stars game, we're going to get a bit of intel at that, how fitness and form levels are of some of these players. So, I'll have my close eye on him.
So I guess that's,
cheapies.
I think that's all the middies there. So cheapie wise,
let's go through.
Got a few of them on the screen. I guess they're the most owned ones, the ones that people are assuming are going to get starts.
And Valance, we don't really have to go through Valance because we've already mentioned it with him.
Yeah. So
I
guess Jack Howarth is the one that I
33%.
don't think plays. I'm guessing that's also
or gets a bench spot.
There.
Yeah, a lot of predicted teams have him on the bench just because of the flexibility of center wing and second rower. And late last year, Bellamy loved having someone that could play center wing as a backup, which is kind of what was eating into Remus Smith's minutes sometimes. So also could be a bit of a turn off on Smith, but I'm risking it.
No, I think the reason why Smith's minutes were low is because he got his very last game he got injured. He played like 9 minutes.
Brought his average down.
So
there you go.
Minutes down. I think he played 8 games last year before getting injured.
There you go. Howarth, I don't see it. Like, if he starts in that second row, then awesome, but I don't see it happening. I think King will start at lock. Yeah, Sims could go to lock, but then still, you've got Katoa, Leorio. Like, you would have covered that in the pod. There's so many potential people that could start there, and I just don't think Howarth's going to get the nod yet. He'll be an option at some point, and he's going to be a gun when he does. The fact that he's available at center wing is awesome if he does get a spot in that second row. So, I can't see why he's owned by 33% yet. Maybe just one of those young kids hyped, but close eye. Alamotti, I currently own him 36%. With the setup of it, you need to own one guy at 200K. Do I believe he's going to start? The playbook actually put up something today with their predicted team lineups, and they had him starting. I know they're just going with the mail that they're receiving, but they had him starting over Braden Burns. Being Braden Burns, a former Panther, and Cirado having a bit to do with him, can I see it happening? I don't think so, but he's only one injury or one spot away from a start. I liked what Barnesy said in the SuperCoach All-Stars podcast. He said that Alamotti could be one of those guys who's only one spot away from being in the center wing if he doesn't get a spot. He could be someone that you could just hold in your lineup. If we get no other bottom dollar cheapies, obviously Camperere, which we're going to talk about. If you get no others, get Alamotti, plug him in there, and save that potential trade down the pack. And if he's one of the only non-playing guys that you've got that aren't on a buy, I could see a world where if we don't get all these cheapies, where I might just go with him even if he doesn't get a start and save the trade later, because he's going to be an option at some point. The Bulldogs did say at one point that he's probably not going to start from the Super. I don't buy it. There's a good chance he can. Do you own him, Jake?
No. But, I mean, if he gets a spot round one, he's going to be in everyone's side. He's only 19. It's not a matter of if he's going to play this season. It's going to be when. Big raps on him since he was, playing through under 14s, 15s. I saw a training pic of him, might have been on the weekend, and mate, he's built as, and he's a player. Not that I don't see the Dogs having these strike centers that Paul Alamotti could be. Averillo's not really a strike center. Burns, he's got a bad hamstring every single second week, so I think Alamotti, he's, like you said, a player that you can potentially run. Just say Tavare doesn't get a start. Alamotti, run 2 of the cheapy ones. You can throw him in there because it's probably only a matter of time. He's one injury in the back line away from getting a spot at worst. I think he's the one that he's going to be a super coach, potentially gun, I think, down the road.
Yeah, 100%.
Sawali type build.
Yeah, he's a big boy. So Khan Pereira, like it looks like he's going to be selected, 30% owned. It should be higher. He should be the most high. Like with all the mail we're going to get, he's going to get there. Looks pretty athletic. Like I think he's a pretty tall character.
Yeah, like from all the
Cheapie
center wings, he's the one that looks like he's going to be getting like the most guaranteed to
with
be
the
starting.
best job security for the start. So not really much to talk about there. I've got him. I'm assuming you've got him, and happy days there. Maybe let's touch upon one more. Like I don't really want to go into Bailey Hodgson because really Lockie Miller, who we haven't talked about, really writes it off. But Hayes Dunster, the Eagles have quite a few injuries in the back line. He's priced at 234K. He's 21% owned. I currently have him at this stage. I've got him and Alamotti kind of placeholders, but people think Sean Russell will get the spot. In mail that I've seen with predicted round run teams, I've seen Sean Russell could potentially get Wanga Blake center spot from the start. And we could see Dunster start. Suffered that nasty injury at the start of last year, and was out for he was out for the rest of that year. So comes up with a bit of a discount. Parramatta Eels is in the Eels lineup. We saw Sean Russell come out round one, score a hat-trick. You can see those halves know how to get the balls out to the wingers. So I believe if he does get that starting wing spot, I think he'll be pretty heavily owned. And, his job security might not be too good, but I'm willing to get a Parramatta Eels starter there. They've got a bit of a tough draw, but a winger at the Eels with that halves combination, I'll take a punt there and Dunster.
Yeah, for sure.
Your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, 100% agreed. I think it's not really going to matter who they're versing. If he's playing center wing for the Eels, they don't need to try, and he's going to be making money. I think him and Sean Russell's job, I guess, depends on the recovery of Simonson and Wanga Blake. Bailey Simonson, look, I don't really rate him much, to be honest. He hasn't really done anything. He's fast, but he's not a tackle breaker. Doesn't have much footwork, but enough crapping on him. They've both been back in training, so there's every chance that they could be right, for round one, and Hayes Dunster or Sean Russell's not there, and it's kind of
that could be a good thing to see who wins the spot from the start. So to be honest, I kind of prefer that rather than getting trapped. But let's not wrap it up, but let's wrap up the breakdown of Cheapie, Jake. I think we covered a lot. There's quite a few questions. I'm going to pick the ones that kind of covered the plays that we missed. Center wing, there's so much to talk about. So, okay, so blah, blah, blah. So we'll talk about, I'll just strictly keep it to center wing. So Lockie Miller, Mark Andrew there. Shout out to him. So Lockie Miller. When they first signed with the Knights, I was interested. But then I saw his price, and then I wasn't interested. Awesome at the Sharks. But, man, if he was 400K, 450K, I could take a punt on him. Knights do have a really nice, juicy draw, but honestly, when you look at their team on paper, they're looking a lot better than a lot of people predicting them to come right down. They're looking like an 8th to 12th kind of like it looks a lot better than what you see. How's Ponga going to go there? The spine looks a lot better than what it did last season, in my opinion. So, and they do like getting off to an early start sometimes. Like this, you know what I mean? But 593K for Lockie Miller, a draft 100% is probably could be one of a guy I'd be targeting in draft. But Jake, could you do it?
Yeah, no, the price it puts you off him. Nearly 600K for a player who's played a handful of first grade games coming from rugby, 28 years old. So there's not he's in his prime, I guess, now. But I don't know that he doesn't really have. We saw him out the Sharks. I watched him. I thought he was good, but he doesn't quite have the ball playing for a fullback. I guess you won't really need that having Ponga and Hastings there. You don't really want another ball playing sort of play to someone to run off those guys. But yeah, at that price, it's a hard pass for me. But yes, I'm agreeing with you, Mikey. I think there's better ways to spend your money than taking a in what I consider quite a big risk on Lockie Miller, because he's yet to really prove himself. I mean, he had a few good games at the Sharks, but that was beating up bad sides. So, yeah, pass for me.
He could become a really good option at some point. I'm not doubting that. That's for sure. I think he's got a real game that could suit playing with Ponga and suit. Like, yeah, he's a quick guy, man. So definitely maybe an option later, but I don't think I could do it from the start. Going with the Knights theme before I go to another one, we've got the Degenerate Supercoach, Marzu. I've seen quite a few teams that have loaded up on him. Price point for Marzu is, let me get him up here on the screen. Obviously comes across from the Titans, where with how well he was and how well he performed, just couldn't get a regular start there. It was always constantly chop and changing. 581k. I'd prefer to start with him over Lockie. Like, look, he reminds you of Talakai. He's got such a super coach friendly game. I think why people are buying him into so much is the Knights have a great early round draw. And this kind of could also merit a Lockie Miller super pod starting with him. They go Warriors, Tigers, Dolphins, Raiders, Manly, Warriors. And then the first hardest game there is the Panthers. They don't go on a bye to round 14. So yet again, Knights they're a handy team to start with. I am keen on quite a few Knight plays. But to start with, I see a lot of hype with 580k. If I was doing it, I'd rather take a risk on Suwali instead, or find an extra 100 and something K and go homes. If you want to stack up in the center wing, then it could work out. It really could work out. But Jake, can you do it?
No, I can't. I mean, it's a massive pod. The fact that he hasn't been able to nail a starting spot this is now his third team, I think, kind of says to me that, there's every chance he could play round one and then doesn't play again. Like, he's on the fringe. I
don't think that's going to happen at the Knights. He's come across. They tried to get him on early. Edric Lee's gone to the Dolphins. They don't really have a cemented center wing lineup apart from really like Bradman Best and a couple of this. So I don't think job security is worry, but yeah, maybe does he have enough motor to, as your point, Jake, like he has been a fringe first grader. But
that's why I'm like you were saying, I'm hesitant to spend 580k on something like that where I can spend another 40k, get a proven player like a Brian Toto. But yeah, 100% mate. Degenerate Supercoach. He's a pod, and I'm pretty sure there was another one that mentioned Marzu as well. So there's, like you said, there's a bit of appeal around Greg Lolisiao.
It was Michael Bader there. Thoughts on good, good point with the soft draw. Could be on to target. One we haven't covered. Tony Staggs, loves to trap people. He's got so much potential. A lot of people are burned by him. So Lachlan Harris asked, tell me about Tony Staggs and why he's a must-have centre wing who's only going to turn up in 2023. He's not.
Is he turning up round one, Mikey? Is he turning up round one?
No, not against the Panthers. I don't. Well, then again, Panthers, can leak some points. He might score a double, and he might. He does like playing against the Panthers sometimes, but I'd like to think the answer to that question will be no. They're playing at Penrith. But 511k, it's a tempting price as a premium. If that's your one premium centre wing, it is a tempting price. It's just a year where he finally, proves his doubters wrong, potentially. And mind you, just a hot tip there. He did play the Panthers at Bluebet Stadium, and he scored a ton.
Yeah, he scored.
So he could.
They got flogged, but he scored a ton.
Back to that point there. So maybe you're not as scared. They then go to the Cowboys, but then they go to the Dragons, Dolphins, Tigers, Raiders, Titans. And they're another team with a later bye. They don't have a bye all the way to round 16. So that's a team with one of the latest. Someone like Staggs, if he stays away from the Origin arena, he provides bye coverage in round 13. He's someone that I don't think with how he's burned so many people in the past I could start with, but he could be someone that you look at a target early rounds to get him in for the buys. The Broncos, I think they they've got a lineup now where they've got to start. Can they nail down a top 8 spot last year? They let it slip through their fingers last year. I don't hate him as much as people think I would hate him, and as much as other people hate him. I haven't been burned by him yet because I've stayed quite away from him. But do you have the ownership up there for him, Jake? Oh, yeah, never mind. I've got it 8.6%. So a lot of people are scared off him. That's not horrible. If he does a number on the Panthers, then it has to burst. Sorry, the Cowboys, but he plays at Suncorp 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row from round 2 to 6. That's crazy. And then he plays the Titans at Seabus. So he's only playing out of Queensland 2 games. He's only playing out of Queensland twice in 10 weeks. The Broncos players, I don't have many Broncos. I don't even know if I have a Broncos player. Something I haven't considered, if you're going to evenly spread your side around, you're starting to plug these guys at 500k in your center wing, this strat could 100% work, man. So he could prove a lot of people wrong, but his inconsistency last year just scares me to start.
Yeah, I was about to add the inconsistency. He, like he was last year, was a roller coaster. He started at what he finished at in terms of average and in terms of price, or what he was priced at. I know the price is slightly more now, but it's based on the same average that he started with last year. So, I mean, a lot of people started with for 430k last year. It's the exact same situation. Are you starting with Stags for, if we're under the old cap, 430k again this year? Judging on what he did last year, I just don't want to deal with that. I mean, he never burnt me either. I'm in the same boat as you, but he's just a player up and down. The Broncos, I have no idea what they're doing with their culture up there. They seem to have a problem every single week. So, yeah, I'd rather go someone else. I'd rather stay away from him. I'd rather go either a top premium option or more of the mid to cheapie options that we mentioned before.
Yeah, Tour Pro's got a few ones in here too. I won't read all of them, but just commenting on some of the stuff we've already spoke about. But Val Holmes is a must-have with the Cows draw. Look, I'm heavily considering him, but I just with the build I want to do, I just don't know how I can do it unless I say goodbye to Harry Grant. But it's if we get more, say you get more mail around Sonny Luke, and he becomes an option, I could see a world where you could go Sonny Luke. If he plays 55 minutes, I think it'll be enough to make some money, and we don't get enough genuine cheapies. You go Sonny Luke and Brandon Smith. Then if I was to do that build, I'd 100% be picking up Valentine Holmes. But I want to stop completely destroying my side each week. But last one we're going to end on, we've got 2 guys that asked a question about it, so I won't put up the question. We've got Murray Tuolangi. Maybe he's the difference. Instead of going Holmes, maybe you could risk it with Tuolangi with their excellent draw and the fact they're not leaving Queensland too much. He's priced at 578. He earned a Maroons jersey last year, and he really proved his worth as a player. And he's someone there that you've got to score a lot of tries, and they did find his way quite a few times last year. I think that's not too much to spend on. I think I'd be happy to spend that with him purely because of the Cowboys draw and how well I think they're going to start the season. We mentioned their draw earlier before, but he'll be a bit of a pod too. We've been talking about all these Marza Hughes and all that point. At that price point, I would be happy to take a punt on someone like Murray Tuolangi. Jake, what about you? I actually really like him as a pod.
I agree.
To Holmes, if you don't have Holmes, get Tuolangi.
Yeah, you wouldn't go both. You wouldn't stack both Cowboys center wings in there at that price point. But yeah, if you didn't want Val Holmes, you wanted someone cheaper to then spend that money on someone else. I think Tuolangi, he went on streaks last year of just scoring. I mean, he pretty much scored a try almost every game, it seemed, and a couple of doubles in there. So and in a side that, like we've said, pretty good draw. Don't leave Queensland. Don't have a bye for ages. So yeah, I guess he's the poor man's Val Holmes that can potentially score similar or at the price point, pretty fairly.
And if he scores similar at the price point and you're saving yourself 150k, that 150k could be spent on maybe getting rid of a dud player to get like a Perham or even like a Butcher who we spoke about earlier. You could turn Elise Katoa if he doesn't get named to a butcher, and that could become pivotal if that player also does well. It's about balance, and I think a few comments in here about people not agreeing with the fullback strategy of dud fullbacks, and that's correct. But I think picking the fullbacks at this price point takes away a bit of the risk, and they present value. It's all about finding value in my eyes to then get to these guys that have done well, because there's nothing worse than risking on a 550k player and they don't perform as well, and you could have picked the 350k player and they do better. That's missing out on another gun's second rower in my eyes. So it's just purely why I don't do it. And to end on, Zimbeda asked, will this be available as a podcast? You can, Savs converts this, and I'm pretty sure you can listen to it on a few other platforms like SoundCloud and that. Pretty sure.
So
he's
you're
still
able to,
does
I
that.
guess, chuck it on YouTube, or even, restart this one once it finishes. So
but he has always had it
it.
as a podcast. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. So have a look for it. He'll post it when he posts the link for this. We ran for an hour, 10 minutes. I feel like we covered quite a bit with such a heavy stacked position. I'm sure we'll see you next week, Jake, and I'm a bit harder schedule wise, but I'd love to be here for the fullback one, where we'll go through the fullbacks and recap what we can of the relevant trials. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming on, Jake. Might even have Hads back next week too. So hope you liked his first installment last week. So we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to jump into our group code 990684. We'll post later all the prizes of that. So jump on in, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for coming
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.